Chapter 1, Part 2. Holiday House, Treachery Bay, 9:46 a.m. I lay back and stared at the ceiling of my bedroom in our holiday house. The local doctor had checked me out, stitched my hand and given me to something help me relax. Yeah, sure, relax. I'd told Mum and Gabby some of what had happened out on the boat. If only they knew about that mental case back home yesterday. Now I felt really weird, spaced out, as if what had happened overnight had been some sort of hallucination. The pain in my fingers and the gash on the back of my hand proved its reality. I remembered the sharks and shuddered, then drifted back to sleep. 5:25 p.m. It was dark. For a moment I thought I was back in the shark-infested water. The room spun. I grabbed the sides of the bed and saw my hands, raw, scraped and swollen. Mum and Gabby brought in some hot soup and put the blinds up, letting light into the room. "Where's Uncle Rafe? Is he all right?" I asked. Mum shook her head. I could see tears in her eyes. "There's been no word about him at all," she cried. "Why didn't you turn back before the storm? Even we could see the weather coming in." "I tried to. I wanted to," I said. "I kept telling him, but Rafe doesn't know the estuary like you do." "I know that, but he wouldn't listen to me, Mum." The phone rang. "I'd better get that," she said, and wiping her face and walking away. "Don't worry about him," I called out as she left the room. "He'll turn up." Gabby climbed onto the bed. "I hope Uncle Rafe's okay," she said. "Do you really think he's going to turn up?" "He will. I'm sure he's fine." "But what if he drowned, Cal?" "Gabby, he's fine." I hoped what I was saying was true. Gabby snuggled down beside me. "I'll stay here and protect you from anything bad," she whispered. I hugged my little sister. That's what I used to say to her when she was really small and afraid of the dark. Now she was 9 and afraid of nothing. "Thanks, Gab, but I need to sleep." 8:03 p.m. I woke up, drenched with sweat from a nightmare. It was always the same one. I'm lying, unable to move. Something horrible is happening. I'm freezing cold and with cold and dread, but I can't do anything about it. And somewhere there's this threadbare white toy dog that for some reason scares the hell out of me. Gabby came in and I tried to shake it out of my head. "Are you okay, Cal? You were calling out something. 365 what?" "Oh, nothing. I was just having a bad dream." "Uncle Rafe's okay," she said. "He washed up at Swan's Nest." I exhaled quietly. "I'm glad he's alive, but that idiot almost got the two of us killed," I said. "Mum doesn't think he's an idiot," said my sister. I hated hearing that. Gabby plonked herself on the floor, cross-legged, and looked up at me. "Why weren't you wearing your life jacket?" she asked. "The men from the helicopter said you didn't have it on." "I was wearing it. It's somewhere at the bottom of the bay now." "What? It fell off?" "I had to pull it off. It was dragging me down. The stuff inside must have been waterlogged or something." "I've never heard of that happening." Come to think of it, neither had I. Gabby pulled off her silver and black Celtic ring and leaned up on the bed to stick it on my little finger. "Here, I want you to have this," she said. Dad bought the ring for her in Waterford and gave it to her when he came back from his first trip to Ireland. "Hey, I can't take that from you. You love that ring." "No, you have it. Please, it'll keep you safe. If you're safe, I'm safe too." She lifted her hand and lifted mine. "See, it fits perfectly." 8:16 p.m. There were voices outside as Rafe arrived. I could hear Mum shouting at him in the kitchen and I couldn't help but smile. It hurt my face, but it was worth it. After Gabby left the room, I checked out my face in the mirror. This was the first time I'd a real good look at myself, and I looked pretty shocking. I had myself a black eye, my lips and nose were skinned red raw, and my left cheek was all swollen and purple, with a long graze across it that marked me like war paint. I looked hard at my face. It seemed different, and not just because of the cuts and bruises. It was more serious, harder, determined. I had a lot to sort out, and I hoped the kid behind the face was up to it. My dad was a photojournalist. He'd gone to Ireland last year to gather footage for a documentary about Australian families with Irish ancestry. He was there with another colleague researching, interviewing people and speaking at a huge conference when apparently he stumbled onto something incredible. I was determined to find out whatever it was he had discovered about our family, the massive secret he'd told me a little about in his last letter over 6 months ago. I'd read and reread his words, trying to find something that would give me a clue. He'd sent me a drawing of an enormous angel too, that I was also yet to decipher. The angel stood tall and was dressed in a full military kit from the First World War. He held a flaming sword and his wings were partly folded, rising up above him. If he had spread the wings out, he'd have a wingspan like a 747. A guy like that wouldn't flap through the air. He'd whoomp, whoomp, whoomp like a Black Hawk helicopter. There is the illustration. Now we're going to see a letter from Callum's dad. I'll read it to you. I pulled Dad's letter from my backpack. Clonmel Way Guest House, Carrick-on-Suir, Ireland, June the 2nd. Dear Cal, only a few more weeks and I'll be home and can tell you why the enclosed angel drawing is so important. Briefly, and I need to be really careful in case this letter falls into the wrong hands, I believe I've discovered something about our family that will cause a sensation. History itself is going to be changed if we can work out some very complicated clues. Cal, please keep this to yourself for now, but you kids had better sharpen your wits and get used to the idea of being rich. I can't say much more because it's not safe. There's at least one party that already knows something, a very dangerous woman who attended the conference in Kilkenny when I delivered my presentation on the Ormond family. She questioned me relentlessly and is determined to find out what I have. If she knows about it, I'm sure other people do too. Anyway, I just found out that she has underground connections. I need to get as much information as possible while I'm here in Ireland. Your mum and Gabby don't need to know anything at this stage, but when I come home we'll all figure out a plan of action. We need to decide how to go about keeping things quiet until the right time. Cal, it's so hard to write this. I really don't want to worry you, but if anything were to happen to me, you'll have to be the one to see this through. With the stakes involved, the danger could be extreme. Please promise me you'll keep this to yourself. I'll fill you in on everything when I get back. Can't wait to see you all again. Love, Dad. I pinned the drawing on the wall. A breeze from the window lifted the paper, making the angel look like he wanted to fly. I took him down and folded him away with Dad's letter. I didn't want Rafe seeing it. Dad's words kept spinning round in my mind. I could feel grief grabbing me, but I bit it back. Us? Rich? What had he discovered? I didn't want any more danger. I'd had enough. I couldn't wait till the other drawings arrived in the post. Maybe Dad drew something that would help me understand what in the world the Ormond singularity was. See you tomorrow for the next chapter.